Here we are in 2025, surrounded by technology, our lives intertwined with screens, notifications, and the constant hum of digital information. And yet, despite all this modernity, we remain captivated by stories first told nearly 3,000 years ago, stories that have traveled across centuries and civilizations. I'm talking about Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, epic poems that form the very foundation of Western literature, shaping the way we think about storytelling itself. These tales of heroes, gods, monsters, and human drama are the blueprints for countless stories we tell today, echoing through novels, movies, and even the games we play. Every time a hero faces a quest, a test of courage, or a moral dilemma, a little echo of Homer can be heard, whether we realize it or not. The archetypes, Achilles, Odysseus, Penelope, still shape our understanding of heroism, loyalty, cunning, and the complexities of humanity. Why do these ancient stories still resonate so deeply with us, even after millennia? Because they ask the biggest questions. What is heroism? What does it mean to be truly brave or wise? What is the price of glory, and what must we sacrifice to achieve it? How do we find meaning in a chaotic world where fate and chance seem to rule as much as our own choices? Homer's characters are gloriously human, flawed, passionate, and real, struggling with love, pride, anger, and loss, just as we do. Generation after generation, we return to these stories, retelling and reimagining them in novels, plays, films, and even video games, finding new meaning each time. Each adaptation is a conversation with the past, a search for our own reflection in the hero's shield, and a way to connect with those who came before us. In this exploration, we'll journey through some of these reimagined worlds to see how modern storytellers keep Homer's immortal song alive, adapting it for new generations and new mediums. It's a journey worth taking, a timeless adventure that continues to inspire, challenge, and connect us all. Adapting Homer means bridging a vast gap, not just of time but of values. The world of the Iliad is not just ancient, but fundamentally different from our own, shaped by codes and customs that can feel almost alien to us today. Honor or time was everything to heroes like Achilles and Hector, a public currency measured in spoils and glory. Their reputations were built on visible achievements, and every slight or insult could threaten their very identity. The Iliad's engine is this concept. The Trojan War escalates because Agamemnon insults Achilles' honor. What might seem like a personal quarrel to us was for them a matter of life, death, and legacy. To modern audiences, this can seem petty or bizarre. Today, we value teamwork and internal morality. We often see honor as something private, tied to conscience rather than public acclaim. Adapters must translate this alien code, turning ancient honor into something relatable, like personal betrayal or a stand against injustice. They must find ways to make these old motivations resonate with our own sense of right and wrong. Loyalty, too, is tribal and fierce in Homer's world, often overriding any sense of universal morality. The bonds between comrades and kin are everything, and betrayal is the ultimate crime. In this world, the group comes before the individual, and the consequences of loyalty or disloyalty ripple through generations. The gods themselves pick sides for personal reasons, not justice. Their whims and rivalries shape the fate of mortals, making the world unpredictable and often cruel. How do you make a modern audience root for a hero whose loyalties might lead to violence or atrocity? How do you invite empathy for choices that seem unthinkable now? The challenge is to bridge not just language, but an entire ethical framework, helping us see the world through ancient eyes, if only for a moment. It's about making the distant past feel immediate and alive. The adapter becomes a guide, making the audience feel the soul-deep wounds and sacred violations that drive these stories. In doing so, they reveal the timeless human struggles beneath the surface of myth and legend. Beyond honor and loyalty, adapters face countless cultural differences, subtle and overt, that shape the very core of Homer's epics. Translating these works is not just about language, but about bridging worlds separated by centuries of change. The gods in Homer are not distant. They are active, meddling characters, constantly intervening in mortal affairs. For the original audience, these deities explained fate, passion, and the unpredictable nature of life itself. Today, many retellings internalize the divine, turning gods into metaphors for inner drives or psychological forces. This makes the stories feel more intimate and psychologically real, but sometimes less epic in scale. shifting the focus from cosmic drama to personal struggle. Women in Homer's world are defined almost entirely by their relationships to men, their influence mostly confined to the domestic sphere. Their voices are often muted, their choices limited by the strictures of ancient society. Modern audiences expect agency and complexity, so adapters often flesh out female characters, giving them richer inner lives and challenging patriarchal assumptions. This reimagining brings new depth and relevance to old tales. The ancient world's brutality is another hurdle. Homer's violence is graphic and matter-of-fact, with slavery, cruelty and suffering taken for granted as part of life's fabric. Adapters must decide how much to show, whether to lean into the horror of war and its consequences or to soften it for accessibility, always weighing authenticity against the sensitivities of modern viewers. Each choice shapes the story's message, turning the epic into a commentary on our own relationship with violence, power, and the moral questions that still haunt us today. The adapter's task is to balance authenticity with relevance, making ancient stories speak to modern hearts and minds, while honoring the spirit of the original. In doing so, they reveal both the strangeness and the timelessness of Homer's world, showing us how much has changed and how much remains the same. The result, a story that is both ancient and urgently new, echoing across generations and cultures. That's the magic of adaptation. It lets us cross cultural chasms and find ourselves in stories first told thousands of years ago. No adaptation is more ambitious than James Joyce's Ulysses. Joyce compresses the Odyssey's epic journey into a single day in 1904 Dublin, transforming Odysseus into Leopold Bloom, a humble ad man. The Cyclops becomes a pub brawl. The sirens, barmaids, the underworld, a night in the city's red light district. Joyce's genius is in elevating the ordinary to the epic, showing that heroism and struggle live in everyday life. He abandons traditional narrative for stream of consciousness, immersing us in Bloom's thoughts, anxieties, and small acts of kindness. Ulysses proves the Odyssey's framework is universal, the search for home, identity, and connection. Joyce strips away gods and monsters, but the heart of the epic remains. His novel is a profound dialogue with Homer, showing that the ancient journey is alive in every age. Ulysses is not just a retelling, it's a reinvention. For centuries, the Odyssey was Odysseus's story. Margaret Atwood's The Penelopiad flips the script. Atwood gives voice to Penelope and her 12 hanged maids, turning them from silent figures into sharp, witty narrators. Penelope, speaking from the afterlife, questions the heroic tales and her own role. Was she truly clueless, or playing a deeper game? The maid's tragic fate becomes the novella's moral core, forcing us to confront the cost of heroism for the powerless. Atwood's adaptation is a masterclass in reading against the grain, offering a counter-narrative that explores gender, justice, and the story's history silences. The Penelopiad doesn't replace the Odyssey, but stands beside it, revealing new depths. By shifting perspective, Atwood uncovers urgent, moving stories hidden in the epic's shadows. Every great story, she reminds us, has another side. Hollywood's Troy is all about spectacle, grand battles, sweeping romance, and streamlined storytelling. The film condenses the Iliad's sprawling narrative into a few weeks, focusing on the rivalry between Achilles and Hector. The gods are almost entirely removed, grounding the story in gritty realism and human choice. Achilles becomes a disillusioned anti-hero, Hector a noble family man. These changes make the characters relatable, but simplify Homer's moral complexity. Troy prioritizes emotional impact and clear narrative over strict fidelity, introducing millions to the story's epic scale and tragic cost. It's a reminder that adaptation means making tough choices, balancing accessibility with the spirit of the original. For many, Troy is the gateway to Homer's world. In 1997, Andrei Konchalovsky adapted the entire Odyssey into a television miniseries, using the format's length to capture the epic's episodic nature. The miniseries embraces the mythological. Monsters, gods, and magic are vividly brought to life. Unlike Troy's realism, this adaptation leans into wonder, with gods as active characters shaping Odysseus's fate. Armand Assante's Odysseus is a scarred, longing man, desperate to return home. Penelope's struggle in Ithaca is given equal weight, highlighting both husband and wife's endurance. The miniseries is faithful yet accessible, using modern filmmaking to make Homer's world compelling for new audiences. It doesn't reinvent or deconstruct, but offers a definitive, heartfelt retelling. For many, this was their first true encounter with Homer's epic. With so many adaptations, why read the originals? Because Homer's Iliad and Odyssey are the source, the purest form of these stories. Reading them is like hearing the first recording of a song you've only known through covers. The originals deepen our appreciation for adaptations, revealing the choices and conversations each new version has with the past. Homer's language, even in translation, is powerful. Epic similes, formal speeches, and recurring epithets create a world unlike any modern retelling. The poems are richer, stranger, and more complex than any adaptation. They're sprawling, messy, and full of contradictions, just like life. Engaging with them connects us to a chain of storytelling stretching back millennia. Adaptations are wonderful branches, but the original poems are the ancient, unshakable trunk. To skip them is to miss the heart of the story. At the end of our odyssey through Homeric adaptation, one thing is clear: these stories endure because they speak to what it means to be human. From Joyce's modernist Dublin to Hollywood's Troy, from Atwood's silenced voices to faithful miniseries, Homer's tales are endlessly adaptable. They're not relics, but living stories, evolving with each generation. The challenge of adaptation is immense, translating ancient values, gods, and violence for modern audiences. But in that creative tension, the magic happens. The rage of Achilles, the longing of Odysseus, the resilience of Penelope, these are universal heartbeats. Homer's epics are vast and ever-changing, inviting us to explore, question, and find ourselves within them, whether in Greek translation or on screen. Their song continues, a song of humanity in all its flawed, heroic glory, and it's a song we'll be listening to for generations to come.